What is the most pathetic GoFundMe or Kickstarter that you've ever seen? There are two that are tied for me. Help! I committed a hit and run, was found, and also ticketed for driving without a license and insurance. I can't afford these tickets because I don't have a job and I'm only 16. The other one was, please help fund my lawyer to get my daughters back after I lost them due to neglect and my substance habit. Basically, both of these equate to, help! I messed up bad and committed a crime. Pay to help me. I know a couple who did a GoFundMe for their wedding, and then they eloped. It's the 1-year anniversary of their eloping, and they're posting about it on Facebook like they didn't up and run away with their friends and family's money. Frickin' jerks. A guy I knew made a GoFundMe asking for $5,000 to move out to LA to attempt to become a famous artist. Kickstarter is one thing, at least those offer incentives in return. This guy was straight up just asking for money to fund his lifestyle because he has zero initiative to save money for himself and parties it all away. $40 was the extent of the donations. The page was quietly removed a few weeks later. A girl in my town did one because she wanted a vajazzle, and her mum wouldn't give her the money for one. That very briefly went viral before it was taken down. Please pay for my honeymoon. We never got a honeymoon because we couldn't afford it. Please pay for us to take a late honeymoon. Same couple, 2 fundraisers. See, my brother-in-law and his wife asked for monetary donations towards their honeymoon in lieu of wedding gifts. I find this acceptable, but it was also extended to only those invited to the wedding, so probably really not the same thing. Definitely that lady who spent literally all her money buying lottery tickets because she was confident she'd win, then started a GoFundMe to get back on her feet. It was thousands and thousands of bucks if I remember correctly. I think the fundraising site shut it down. See, these are pathetic, but at least we can laugh at these. The narrator was fairly sure that this video would be filled with people writing about the ones where people use GoFundMe to pay their medical bills, which, to be clear, isn't pathetic for them to do, as crippling medical debt can happen to anyone in the States at any time. What's pathetic is the system that lets it happen. Oh my god, the following post comes to mind. I recently lost someone very dear to me, and before I did, they had said that when they would, they could get me a new Nintendo 3DS, or at least help me to get one if I ended up with some money of my own. So now I would like your guys' help since she can no longer do, so I have found one that I would love to get, but it's a little pricey, so in her memory, please help me get this so I can honor her and what she wanted to do, thank you. By the way, there were no full stops in any of that.
What the heck? It seems like they're more upset that their friend didn't get a chance to buy them the 3DS than they are that their friend actually died.
Friend of mine had a parent lose their job and consequently requested money for recreational purposes because she wanted to enjoy the college experience. Normally, I would have chipped in, but her dad was a long-time executive at a big insurance company and she drove a new BMW as a high schooler. Not to mention she was going to college on a scholarship. I think she still pulled like $200. This is more in the analog world, but it's in the same kind of vein. My wife's cousin had a baby shower. The whole family bought her a boatload of stuff, walkers, car seat, stroller, all the standard expensive baby stuff. Well, after her baby was done with all of it, she sold it, probably for green herb money. Then she got preggers with her second child at age 19. She decided to hold a second baby shower. She was annoyed the entire family didn't just buy her all the expensive crap they'd already bought her over again. My sister posting one asking for money because she couldn't pay her rent because she can't hold a job down. She doesn't like to take responsibility for her actions and just expects everyone else to take care of her.
Help me with my gaming PC build.
They started a GoFundMe so they could quit work and stay home to tweet about professional wrestling. We popped out a bunch of kids and now we need a van.
Another favorite of mine is, I totaled my car, help me buy a newer, more luxurious one. Hey, I'm pretty, help me buy a Mac cause I want one.
A girl from my town started one in hopes of quitting her job and becoming a stay-at-home mum. I just saw 2 in the last week and one has made money and one hasn't yet. The first is this very attractive girl, her looks probably matter to the story, who posted a GoFundMe to get an extra $100 to help with her vacation. Her story was that she was a full-time nurse who struggles with a health condition and needs a break. She has enough for the trip that she's been saving for months for, but the extra $100 will help her cover some extra things. I checked it yesterday and she has almost $1,000. Someone donated $300 to her. The other is some kid who definitely smokes a lot of green herb, who wants $1,000 to buy music equipment for his crappy rap career. It was only posted this morning, but when I clicked, he had $20 donated to himself. He donated his own money towards it. Some woman whose standard coffee maker had broken and wanted money to buy a top-of-the-line Keurig. A guy who has money for mods on his automatic FRS and flaunts wads of cash on his Facebook, asking for a handout when his car got vandalized. I knew a girl who started a GoFundMe for a down payment on a house. Her justification was that she throws huge parties and everyone would come and party there. This girl I went to high school with's boyfriend was killed in a car accident a year or so ago. She started a GoFundMe for herself to pay rent and other expenses for her and their baby, by which I mean dog. They weren't married and she wasn't expected to pay any of the funeral costs. She was just trying to get free money because something bad happened.
Give us several $1,000s for our wedding.
When confronted, the girl said that she was being humble enough to ask for help when she needed it. Too bad she couldn't be humble enough to just get married at the courthouse. Definitely Zana Joshi's You Care fundraiser. If you somehow don't know who she is, she's the lady who overreacted to a guy saying that his name was Humongous. She tried to make money because she was, quote, harassed by Humongous and wants to stop the patriarchy. What she got instead was a crap ton of $1 donations telling her how much of a sensitive piece of crap she was. A girl I knew a few years ago decided to quit her job and travel the world for a year. Racked up something like $30,000 in credit card debt and then started a GoFundMe to support her new freeing lifestyle. Wrote a whole diatribe about how important it is she not work and continue to live and travel doing nothing. I think it made like $200. It was so cringy to read. So to be clear, I think there is a line to be drawn in the sand with the whole boomer diatribe of young people expect to be paid for nothing, when it's directed towards these sort of people who literally want something for nothing while they travel in luxury and tear up the atmosphere while being waited on hand and foot. It may have some value to the argument. Just stop directing it at people who take student loans or who've been laid off and need some unemployment benefits while they get back on their feet. Deal? A guy I went on one date with, the date happened around 2006, had the dumbest Kickstarter. Backstory, he's friends with a bunch of my friends. We were on a date with the sole reason being that we were both gay and our friends just knew we would like each other. I'm a non-detectable, straight-acting gay and he wasn't. Not to say he was over-the-top flamboyant, but you could tell. Not a bad thing, I've dated flamboyant dudes and they're fun. The date, during the first part of dinner, he wouldn't stop going on about how rich he was, how he owned a house, how much he liked me, and that he couldn't wait to get me home even though we'd never met before. He reached across the table and unbuttoned a button on my shirt. I wear them with the top 3 undone as is, and he told me he liked a hairy man. I'm hairy, by the way. And said he was ready for us to move in. Then he started asking me what positions I was into in the bedroom. Then he started loudly talking about his Johnson. It's rigid under the table. I hushed him only for him to show me it via photo on an old 2004 camera phone and asked what I would do with it. I gave him a, "Is this really the place for this discussion?" And he rebutted it with, "No, really, what would you do with it?" Our waiter, another gentleman, could tell I wasn't feeling it with this guy, thank God, and brought 2 separate checks. The cherry on top of the evening was when it came time for him to pay. He was upset that he had to pay for himself. I thanked him for the evening and got ready to head out. Then I remembered. He fricking drove us. Outside, he tried to start his car, but it wouldn't, so he threw rocks at it. I had to call my sister so she could jump his car. She came and asked if we needed a ride. He gave her a, "Nah, we got it from here," so she left, even though I was giving her the, "Don't you dare leave." From there, he was asking if I wanted to go home or if I'd rather come back to his place. I said, "Home please, I'm kind of tired." He took the long way, then pulled off the side of the road and confronted me about how weird I was at dinner. I told him it was strange how he went from being a pretty nice guy to basically making me feel more uncomfortable than I've ever felt in my life in a restaurant full of people. I was looking out my window while talking to him and I had no idea how I didn't hear this, but he had unzipped his fly. When I turned back to him, the fricking Washington Monument was just standing straight up.
What about just 1 or 2 licks and we can keep driving?
I was fricking done. I told him off, he drove me the rest of the way home, with it still out, by the way, one hand on it and the other on the steering wheel, making a pouty face when I would look over. We got to my street, I asked him to delete my number. In short, worst date ever, one of the most uncomfortable nights of my life, and all by a guy claiming to come from money and talking about his posh lifestyle and huge apartment. Also, he pulled it out and got pouty because I wasn't overcome with lust at the sight of it. But anyway, here's his Kickstarter. About 3 years ago, my sister linked me to a Kickstarter.
Isn't this that guy you hated after meeting one time?
His Kickstarter was basically,
help me pay my rent, pay off my car, I'm saving to get married to my girlfriend of 10 years,
or some crap like that. The best part was also that he stated he had cancer on his twig and berries and he couldn't afford treatment. What happened to the house you owned at 25? What happened to the car that you owned? Which was still on his Facebook photos, by the way. You have a girlfriend? Johnson cancer? What? You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out Easy Mode, also linked below, and subscribe. There was a day-old account over on the Tuber Reddit that asked everyone on the sub to review his post on Kickstarter. Always happy to help another tuba player, I checked it out. Maybe he was starting some kind of organization for tubists. Maybe he was helping kids, who knew? It was literally a guy who played in high school asking people to buy him a tuba, a new $9,000 tuba at that. The members of the sub were not very impressed, and the original poster quickly deleted the thread and the Kickstarter afterwards.
I want something I can't afford. Will you get it for me?
There was a Kickstarter for an indie comic series I found through Reddit delusional artists called False Stop, The Fall of All. It was like looking at a 14-year-old DeviantArt member trapped in a 30-year-old man's body who couldn't see how bizarre his setup was, how crude his drawings and writing were, and just how unmarketable his entire venture was. If you've spent nearly 2 decades trying to get the same darn story off the ground, then, like what an aviation engineer said to the inventor of the brick-based airship, this crap won't fly. So the setup was 2 gods make a bunch of powerful weapons and leave them lying around for some reason. They then build a creature to guard them, but give him a black hole for a heart for some reason again. This is bad and will destroy the universe for some reason. They send him down to live as a bald eagle. This is a furry comic, by the way. But his black hole will drive him insane and he only has a year to live. Suddenly, mysterious good guys want to kill him to save the universe, and really stupid bad guys want to kill him so they can destroy the universe. He somehow has a magic katana that has a samurai ghost inside, and the ghost speaks Shakespearean English. There's now another Kickstarter for this crap. They want to make a video game. They're promising it will lift features from Undertale. Somehow, this got funded. Well, regardless of how harsh this author's words about the creator's talent is, pretty harsh in the narrator's book, the narrator decided to check up both on the novel and the game. The novel never achieved funding, which the artist is hardly to blame for, but the game was under development for 3 years, released a demo of sorts, and then after one final update saying the pandemic was going to slow down production, they disappeared completely. Which honestly is fairly typical for a Kickstarter project. Oh well. When I was a film major, one of my film professors started a Kickstarter campaign for a zombie film app called Zombie Map. I'm pretty sure most of the contributions were from film students who feel committed to support him because it was a crappy idea for a lot of money. The idea of the app is that filmmakers can make film or zombie movies or short films and upload it on the app. The app acts like a GPS. If you click on an area with an outbreak, then you get to see movies that are set in that area. It never achieved its goal, but honestly, it was pretty close. This couple made one to have people pay them to meet. It was a long-distance relationship. Even worse was that they were known for breaking up frequently and had already made 2 GoFundMe posts about the same thing. I think the worst of all was that they actually made a decent amount of money each time. Me and my girlfriend are moving to Chicago. Everyone give us money for rent. No. An in-law of mine is dying of COPD. She never stopped smoking, even though her initial diagnosis was 10 years ago. So far, $1,300 has been donated so her husband can quit work to take care of her. A job her daughter is already doing. Thinking about the whole situation just upsets me. I have a friend who's kinda cute, but she's got nothing going on chest-wise. She started a GoFundMe for a chest job, and people donate because she's cute. Oh, I don't think it's up anymore, but my best friend went to jail and met this trick named Tricky Nikki. Tricky Nikki is a serious pillhead, and after she got out of jail, Tricky Nikki got into a huge fight outside of a club over a guy or something. Tricky Nikki set up a GoFundMe with a sob story of boo-hoo, I was mugged on my way to Bible study, cause she is on paper still, so that was her official story. Well, she made $50, then someone ratted on her all over Facebook, and then the Snapchat video was leaked. They sent to her local police department, and now Tricky Nikki is in prison for 3 more years. Facebook drama is truly the best thing to watch from a distance. I volunteered as a teacher in Fiji. Another chick who was going in the same group as I was started a GoFundMe for herself, asking people to pay for her expenses. It was bad enough that she volunteered, yet wanted others to pay for her to do it, and then she shared it in the volunteer group with us, saying, "Please help out," smiley face. The Potato Salad Kickstarter, which raised $55,000 whilst promising people a bite. I was thinking of this one. Total props to the guy because he took his internet fame and did fun stuff afterwards. Semi-famous or even famous musicians setting up GoFundMe pages to fund the production of a new album.
Pay for me to make this album. If it flops, I won't be out any money, and if it gets popular, I'll rake in the cash.
I can kind of understand this with lower to mid-level artists, sort of buy the album before it's made kind of thing. One of my favorite bands has done this a couple of times, and they'll never get big record or company money or have hits, so having the fans directly support them is kind of cool. Usually, a higher contribution might get you the album and a t-shirt or signed merch, so that's a nice option. Some bands will never sell enough to rake in the cash, but still want to produce music. Someone like Beyoncé or Taylor Swift has no business doing this, though. This one guy wanted to take his girlfriend to EDC for their 1-year anniversary. He was asking around $700 for tickets alone. People roasted him and told him to get a job. He hadn't even considered hotel, airfare, or food, among other things. Shenmue 3. While the project itself probably isn't the kind of thing you think of when someone says pathetic, and it's certainly not, but the fact that this is a Kickstarter backed and publicized by Sony. Frickin' Sony put center stage during their E3 presentation with their own exclusive time slot. What the frick? I'm sure Sony were very unsure about the project when they decided to do that. The idea of Sony, one of the largest publishers in the world, if not the largest, asking fans to fund development of a critically acclaimed classic series, it's just obscene. And the most pathetic part is that it was fully backed almost instantly. Really, I'm just waiting for Activision to kickstart a Call of Duty title. That's the only thing left that could really outdo this. I had the greatest idea for a Kickstarter, then I realized it would have fit this category that we're talking about in the video. 1. Project is to develop a time machine. 2. Hire someone to go back in time, they must bring their own weapons. 3. They go back in time to just before Jesus' birth. 4. They record and document what the frick actually happened with him. 5. They hide the tapes in a secret location and never reveal their identities or any of what they've done so as to not upset the timeline. 6. In 2020, we go to the location and recover the tapes. 7. Everyone who contributed gets a copy of the tape. The problem is finding some kind of digital media which would keep the recording that long, which I don't think exists. Yes, sure. The final problem is the only problem with this entire Kickstarter idea. The rest is completely reasonable and doable. I kind of wish that I had seen something like this in the days when I actually donated to Kickstarters. It's pretty great. Any Kickstarter asking for people to pay for their backpacking trip to Thailand or something to help them discover themselves. Someone from my high school started one to pay for college tuition. In the end, she had to suck it up and go into debt like the rest of us. Some guy I didn't know very well set up a Kickstarter in my name to buy me a new car because mine broke down every few weeks. I appreciated it, but it also made me kinda want to die. Some completely random guy posted about wanting to quit his job and become a full-time YouTube Let's Player. He wanted $5,000 to get started. He got a whopping $5, and you gotta think it was a friend who felt bad for him, or even just the guy donating to himself from another account. My old high school boyfriend started a GoFundMe for his second divorce. I can't find the link, but I remember seeing a GoFundMe on my Twitter timeline about this white girl who raised a lot of money because her parents didn't approve of her dating a black dude and going to prom together. Not really pathetic, but they raised a crap ton just for prom tickets. My cousin started a GoFundMe to buy dresses for a pageant. She then complained on Facebook the day after creating it that her friends and family liked her post with the GoFundMe link, but didn't donate. Meanwhile, she's 24, hasn't held down a job for longer than 3 months, and has dropped out of 3 colleges. Recently helped her with her resume, but she told me she couldn't apply to jobs because she couldn't afford a laptop. Girl I know who updated her Facebook all the time, complaining about welfare and how she works hard for her money and supports her kids, unlike all the people mooching off the system. She started a Kickstarter to get a new apartment because there wasn't enough space for her kids and they'd run into some issues that were keeping them stuck in a cycle of not having enough money. First 5 or so comments were all saying variations of, "Gee, if only there was some kind of system to help people out of these situations so people's lives don't get ruined by cycles of poverty." It came across as so stupid because she was so vocal for years, just because she had never run into hard times as a stay-at-home mum. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out Easy Mode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.